Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the Bubble Developer Summit. This is the first ever event for Bubble developers. It's overdue to bring this group together, and we're really excited to get started. I'm Josh, the co founder and CEO of Bubble. I'm here with my co founder, Emmanuel, as well as Alan,
Hey.
our VP of Product. Before we dive in, let me run through the agenda. First, I'm going to say a few words about why we're excited to be hosting this event. Then I'm going to preview our first announcement, agency profiles. Next, I'll hand things over to Emmanuel to talk about developer certification and agency tiers. Afterwards, Alan will share a bit about our roadmap and upcoming investments in the platform. We'll be doing Q&A throughout as well as at the end, so feel free to ask questions in chat as we go, and I see people have already started leaving a lot of comments, so that's fantastic. Finally, at the very end, we'll wrap up with our community-nominated developer awards. Diving in, I'd like to say a few words about why we're here. We've come a long way since the early days of Bubble. When Emmanuel and I met, we realized that non-technical founders needed a better tool to empower them to create new companies. Fast forward to today, we're privileged to be addressing thousands of Bubble developers live, many of whom build things with Bubble full time. I'm personally really excited about this summer because when people started becoming full-time Bubble developers and agencies, I knew we were building something real. Bubble developers have always been the best partners to us evolving the product. Starting from our bootstrapping days to the present, the feedback and partnership you give us makes Bubble better. I originally entered startup space as a technical co-founder. Very quickly, I noticed a huge mismatch between entrepreneurs and engineers. Too many great ideas were dead in the water because there weren't enough trained engineers to make them happen. The key insight of Bubble was that for every programmer out there, there's 100 people who can think like a programmer just without the training. And as you very well know, they are eager to create, especially if the tool that they're using meets them halfway. Bubble's mission is to enable all of these people to participate in the global economy as creators, not just consumers of digital software. We are working towards a world where no code software is the rule, not the exception. Building on no code is faster, better, more inclusive and accessible, and importantly, teams that use no code win. Everyone on this call today can testify to what no code unlocks, and we're here to bring that to life for the entire software industry. 10 years into this project, we are well on our way. We have almost 7,000 of you taking the time out of your Tuesday because you care about what no code offers. That represents people from 110 countries. And tellingly, there is over 1,000 nominations for our community awards that we're going to present a little bit later, testify that this is a movement, not just a bunch of individuals. The people on this call are setting the bar for how technology will be created this decade. High quality and lightning fast compared to traditional development. And by the way, it's getting noticed by founders, internal teams, and major enterprises who are looking ahead to the future. The apps that you've built have disrupted industries and changed lives. Bubble built apps lead the charge on cutting edge tech like artificial intelligence. Bubblers have built massive businesses as well as urgent nonprofits for disaster relief. The technology you all are developing matters. It's more than just the technology, though. What keeps Emmanuel and I going personally are the inspiring stories we hear about developers building careers on Bubble. Whether as a freelancer, joining an agency, or founding new agencies, people are carving out opportunities not possible in the traditional tech space. I'd like to share one quick story about Sarah, a Bubble developer you may know from her constant contributions to the community. An entrepreneur from France, she says she felt dependent on tech developers her entire life. That is, until she discovered Bubble in 2020 and realized she could develop apps herself. She's been instrumental in no code organizing community events, and her son Kason has joined her in building. Most recently, she organized a co working house in Spain where no code developers flew in from around the world to spend time living and working together. It's both surreal and awesome to Emmanuel and I that Bubble co working houses are a thing now. We get so excited by the energy and love in the no code community. So huge shout out both to everyone. I know we have people in the audience today who were in the Spade House. So huge shout out to you all. Really appreciate what you're doing for the Bubble ecosystem and community. It takes something very special to be a Bubble developer. You all saw the potential early, even as the movement is getting bigger and bigger. We are where we are today because of your work, the critical feedback you've given the Bubble team that we've learned from, the help that you've given each other to learn and grow, and the technical boundaries you've pushed as you prove that no code is capable of going head to head with traditional development. Bubble would not be what it is today without your participation and feedback. Our largest launches of the last couple of years, like responsive design and version control, came out of dialogue we had with the community. It's also very clear to us from our conversations that we're only getting started and that Bubble as a platform has a very long way to go. As such, we are hosting this summit to announce some of the next steps forward. We're sharing 3 new initiatives built with the goal of helping Bubble developers stand out, attract business, and continue building impactful technology that changes lives. We are excited to announce how developers, freelancers, and agencies can showcase work and attract clients through agency profiles. We're excited to announce Bubble Developer Certification to help you prove your expertise. And finally, we're excited to announce agency tiers to showcase developers that build for clients, no matter the team size, and better match them with opportunities. Now, I'd like to share today's first release, Agency Profiles. As you all know, starting a business is hard. Well, finding a Bubble developer shouldn't be harder. If you're a founder or employee, it's been tough to know where to look. There are, of course, lists of places to find talent, or if you're a developer, to find work. But let's be honest, it's pretty messy. Each freelance and agency site is structured differently. They have different levels of detail, different layouts, and because they aren't always Bubble specific, they might not even have the key facts. For a partnership between client and developer to be successful, the developer needs to be qualified, skilled, and the right fit for the project. And a lot of times, it is sheer luck that makes that connection happen. Let me introduce our new agency profile page. It's a centralized, trustworthy place to learn about Bubble developers and agencies. It lets you, as a Bubble developer, showcase exactly what clients need to know to work with you. Agencies come in many shapes and sizes. Some are powered by solo developers, others are fully staffed teams. And of course, they take on a variety of projects across a range of categories. Our new agency profile is available to anyone subscribed to the Bubble agency plan, no matter how big or small your team is. Your clients can see key information that you provide, including the primary services you offer, examples of apps you've built that you'd like to feature, quick stats we compile on your community contributions, customer reviews, which are integrated with existing reviews you have on the review site Clutch. And there's also a place to link to other external sites to showcase more information about your agency or positive feedback you've gotten from clients. Finally, there's a link to allow clients to directly send you a request for proposal as opposed to the open RFP system to help you get better quality leads. Agency profiles give developers more control over how you market your company on Bubble, and they help potential clients understand your process. Anyone with an agency plan can update all of these elements in their account settings. You can build the profile first and then activate the page to make it live and publicly viewable. And you can connect it to your agency directory entry starting today. The profiles can be found through the agency directory as well as the RFP system or linked to directly. This is an important first step we're taking to give you more space on official Bubble channels to distinguish yourself. We're super excited about the potential it unlocks to help you close more clients, which at the end of the day is what makes both you and us successful. Now I'm going to take a few questions, which are going to be surfaced by the Bubble team from the chat. Do all freelancers and agencies get access to a profile? So basically, anyone who subscribes to the Bubble agency plan can get access to a profile. You can subscribe to that plan if you are someone who builds applications for clients, whether you're a freelancer working by yourself or someone working as part of a larger agency. Next question. What other things will I be able to share on my agency profile in the future? Great question. That's actually a great transition to the next announcement we want to make. So on that note, I'd like to hand things over to Emmanuel to talk about developer certification.
Thank you very much, Josh. I was watching all the people in the chat, commenting where they're from, and I have to say it's really awesome to be talking to such a large group and people from all over the world. So first of all, thank you very much for being here. The community of developers has been, extremely instrumental for Bubble to drive its adoption. And so this is the first time we actually run such an event, and the first of, I hope, many. What I'm really excited to talk about today is certifying Bubble developers, like a Bubble developer certification. This is, I think, the thing that I've heard the most from freelancers and agencies in the Bubble ecosystem for years. Why does this matter? This matters because as Bubble is getting bigger and no-code in general is getting bigger, we start seeing more and more people trying to either get our help or people coming to work as Bubble freelancers and Bubble developers. And the challenge with that is, if you put yourself in the shoes of a new Bubble user or someone who needs an app to get built, they're having a hard time figuring out who's actually good to build the application. And on the flip side, for Bubble developers who have been investing many, many years of efforts to get very strong at what they do, then they start having some issues being recognized as such. And so the whole point with this announcement and releasing this official certification from us is that it will increase trust in the ecosystem, because people will have now an official stamp of quality coming from us that will be able to that will describe who is qualified as a great Bubble developer and who still needs to work a little bit on their skill. Ultimately, we think this will benefit everyone. It will benefit people trying to build get an application built, obviously, because they'll get better service. It will benefit Bubble developers because it is a reward for the hard work that people are putting in really mastering the tool. And eventually, it's a great thing for Bubble, because what we want is to raise the average level of Bubble's professionals in the world, because that means that everyone has a better experience that way. So the Bubble Developer Certification is an exam for Bubble developers. It's an exam that will be administered online. People will be taking this online. We heard a lot of feedback. We've been talking to a lot of people in this process before this announcement, and that we are going to make this test fairly challenging. We need to make sure that this actually helps really making the difference between someone who has been on Bubble for some time and someone who's been on Bubble intensively and really understand how it works inside out. So this is going to be a fairly challenging test of 90 questions. You're going to have 3.5 hours to take it. In practice, we've seen a lot of people be able to do that in less than 2 hours, but we want to enable people to do that, take their time. This is an open book test, meaning if there are some questions that people are not certain about, it is okay to actually look at the reference of some documentation about Bubble to figure out what the right response is. The point of this test is not necessarily to just enable people to see where they stand in the Bubble world. It's also to help them figure out what they need to learn to become a great Bubble developer. The last thing I'll add about the exam is this is a test that will last for 1 year. We want people to be able to have to take the test on a regular basis, because as the product evolves, it's important that people have the right skills, their skill set keeps evolving at the same time. The main example I will use here is when we released the new responsive engine, we actually had some situation where some Bubble developers that were working for some people were not actually knowledgeable in the new system, which ended up leading to some problems for the end user ultimately. So it's important that we create this habit of people that they have to stay up to date of the Bubble skill set. And as we keep improving the product and release new features, people will have to learn them and validate their skill set there. The test will be covering pretty much all fields that are required to build a great application at scale. So anything from actually using the Bubble tool to building a beautiful application, to obviously adding some functionality and some database to your application, to some more advanced topics such as backend functionality, security, performance as you scale, and connecting to external APIs. We're going to keep improving and adding things to this battery of questions that we have in these different fields, as so that if we start realizing, based on what we're seeing in the ecosystem, whether it's users reaching out to us or some new type of issues that are arising, if we find out that some fields are missing, we'll just keep adding this. We'll have people on our team that will just keep maintaining the test and make sure we have the right battery of questions for people. Getting a little bit deeper, this is an example of what a question would look like. So in a pretty traditional fashion, this is going to be true or false, multiple choices. Sometimes it's going to be fill in the blank. And again, some of these questions will be a little bit challenging, and that's the whole point. Like, we do want to make sure that this is a pretty sophisticated and hard test, so that when people end up hiring a Bubble certified developer, they know that they're getting someone that actually knows the product very well. Well, once again, as I was explaining, this is an open book test. That's why we give a pretty long time. 3.5 hours for 90 questions is a long time. So that if you are not sure about something, it's totally okay to look at the reference or the documentation and learn about this as you take the test. Now, if you pass the test, well, first of all, congratulations. We had quite a few users already take it, and this is always exciting when we see people passing the test. What you can do with this is, you'll have a certificate, but also, and I would say almost more importantly, you'll be able to showcase this on your LinkedIn profile or on your portfolio. Once we have more people that have taken the test, we'll actually build the ability for people to search for certified developers and to check whether someone has been certified, so that this becomes a source of truth of the Bubble certification in the world. If you didn't pass, which happens, then you'll be able to take the test a few more times. There's going to be a limit on the number of times you can take it, obviously, to be able to take it again. What we want is to have as many people as possible to hit this bar, because that means there are more great Bubble developers in the world. What we're opening up today is a waitlist for the exam. Again, this is something that we're going to take extremely seriously, and we want to take our time in making sure that everything works pretty smoothly. We've had a lot of Bubble users taking the test as beta testers. The team here at Bubble has taken the test as well. And as we have more and more feedback, we'll be opening up the gate more and more. So today, if you go to bubble.io/certification and share your email, you'll be getting the queue to take the test when we open it up in the next few weeks. We're very excited for the feedback we've got. I want to thank everyone here who took the test for us, because being the first one to take the test is always something. And we think that this is a very exciting development for us to ensure that the trustworthiness of the Bubble community and the Bubble ecosystem as a whole and the Bubble profession, that the average level gets up and everyone gets a better experience eventually, ultimately. Questions from the chat that the team has been flagging. Cost for the certification. So we're going to charge $49 to take the test for the year. The idea behind this is, first of all, we want transparently to cover our cost, but it's also important to make sure that people take the test seriously. This is an investment toward your Bubble development career. This is not necessarily something that you take just to know where if you're good at Bubble. We expect people to take this test to be people that actually make a living out of Bubble services. Can you get a developer certification without having an agency plan? I believe so, yes. Will the certification be beneficial to a newbie? As a newbie, I think it's a great goal to have, to aim to pass this test. It's not necessarily, though, the first thing I would recommend. I think as a newbie, it's important to get familiar with the product and start building a few applications to really understand how this works. Again, the test that we've built is fairly advanced and does touch to some, particular topics around, custom states, security rules, API connections that are not necessarily the first thing that a newbie would discover and get into. And so I wouldn't necessarily try to take the test immediately after starting Bubble. I would do this after having built quite a few products and having been a little bit deeper on the documentation. Will Bubble Academy content align with learning the concepts covered in the certification? Yes, we're going to be making adjustments. Obviously, a lot of the content is already there, but if we can find ways to make that content more digestible for people as they take the certification, we will. We're also going to be working with people in the Bubble communities that have been producing some content for, in particular, different languages and different geographies, because we do want people to have good ways to learn. And this is going to be done over the next few months. All right, well, thank you very much for all these questions. The next thing I want to cover today with you is the concept of agency tiers. So this is a little bit building on top of what Josh has just presented with the agency profile. So similar to certification, this is something that we've been asked for a very long time, in particular from agencies specifically. This is a way for them to get, recognized based on how big their contribution is to the Bubble ecosystem, and have some special access to our team as they grow their business on top of the platform. So the whole point of these tiers is to help users identify agencies that are more suited for their needs and enable us to figure out to have a more cohesive way to talk with the different kind of agencies and freelancers that we see in our ecosystem, so that we're more efficient for everyone. Agencies like many of you here have played a huge role in Bubble success, like what you can see on the screen here, which are positive reviews we're getting from people, and we get them every day, either through these kind of forums or just anecdotally through emails when people reach out to us, are real. And this is something that has been extremely important to Bubble's growth. And here as well, I want to say thank you to everyone, because without you, we wouldn't be that far. And we know how much Bubble owes to the community of freelancers and agencies that we have in the ecosystem. Now, what we want to do is just find ways to structure the way to work together in a way that is a little bit more streamlined and efficient, because as we scale, this is becoming very important. What you can do today as a Bubble agency on the Bubble agency plan, so this is something that is already in production and has been for years now, but I would like to say a few words about this before talking about what's new here. What basically the agency plan gives you access to is pretty much the full suite of Bubble features we have that you can be used in application as it's for development purposes and not for production. And so you can apply these features for an unlimited number of applications. And then that enables you to demo your application to your customers in the similar way that they would be experiencing it once they're in production. What the agency plan gives you access to is the RFP portal, which is a way for people to get proposals from different agencies, which is something the team has been iterating quite a bit over the last few months because of scaling. We started having a lot of requests there. The agency directory, which has been on our website for quite some time, and now is the agency profile that Josh just announced earlier that is getting live today. But we know there's still a lot of pressure for agencies to find the right customers for them. It's not necessarily to find a ton of customers. It's about finding customers that actually work best for what they offer. What we're seeing in the Bubble ecosystem is some agencies that deal with very large enterprise, while some others, and when I say agencies, this can be agencies or freelancers, that deal with much smaller organizations and sometimes solo founders. And it's important for us and for agencies to make sure that people can find the right agencies, both for the users and for the agencies, to make sure that time is being well spent. So starting today, no matter the size of the agency, actually, whether you're an agency or a freelancer, you're going to be put into different tiers that will offer different type of things from us and different type of exposure to our users. Pretty traditionally, these tiers are being structured in like 3 different buckets: gold, silver, and bronze. And then we're having a new agency bucket to make sure that newcomers in the ecosystem get some exposure, because we want to help people kickstarting their career as freelancers or agencies. This is something that when we started this company in the first place, this was to enable people to start businesses and to make sure that they can thrive on the platform. And so we always want to we always have somewhere in our head when we launch something new that we want to keep giving chances to new joiners so that they can build a business and have a successful career on the Bubble platform. So what these different tiers will help you with is lead generation. Potential clients will have the ability to filter agencies based on the different tiers so that they can find someone that fits their need better. If you're a very large company, you would probably look at the gold tier, for instance, as these agencies would be the one usually serving larger clients. The feedback loop with us, with our team, will also be better, because we're going to have someone full-time at Bubble in charge of dealing with the different tiers of agencies and be the point of contact for the different agencies, and just enabling us to group agencies in groups of people that share the same challenges and have the same needs is a very much more efficient way for Bubble to work well with agencies. So the whole point here is to really ensure that people can grow on the platform. Ultimately, we believe that agencies and freelancers' incentives and ours are extremely aligned. The more clients you all have and the more people that you can build applications for on Bubble, the better it is for the whole Bubble ecosystem, which in return enables us to keep improving the platform. So we're going to keep working hard, and more than ever, now that we have a team dedicated to this, to find ways to ensure that we can grow together. The tiers are based off on criteria that are pretty objective. The first thing we're looking at, which is the easiest one, and something that is pretty meaningful in sense when it's about figuring out how big someone is as a contributor in the ecosystem, is the amount of value that is generated by an agency. And we have multiple ways to look at this, but this comes down usually to either contribution on the marketplace, because we find out that a lot of agencies actually are also distributing content, whether it's templates or plugins, or applications that are being transitioned from an agency account to a customer's account on a regular plan, a regular subscription. Over time, we're going to be adding new things, though, because we think this is only one facet of the work that an agency is doing. The second one, and we're waiting a little bit here because certification is new, is we're going to look at how good as bubblers are people inside an organization, whether it's a one-person freelancer or an agency. And so certification is the obvious place to look at, to look for this. And we're going to also be looking at client satisfaction. Ultimately, this is the most important thing for us. We want people to be satisfied of the relationship with the agencies they're working with. And so we have ways, because we know who is being working with who through how the application is being edited. And we have ways to implement some kind of net promoter score to ensure that people that have the highest rating from their clients actually get recognized as such. If you're an agency today on the plan, you have received an email that explains more about our tiers and where you are today. If you have any question on this, please reach out to our team. Again, we now have, this is actually a new email address, partnerships@bubble.io. We have a dedicated team working on this to ensure that we give you the tools to grow your business on top of our platform. We're really excited about launching this. So please, be in touch if we can help. And now I'll take a few questions from the chat that the team is going to surface. How do the agency tiers help a potential customer in finding the right agency, beside the thinking that Gold is best? This is a great question. We're going to be explaining, we're going to be producing some marketing collateral to explain the different tiers. Gold is not necessarily the best. It's more the type of companies that is dealing with one larger type of projects. So we will be explaining this. I think, this is a pretty traditional way to describe tiers, to have, silver, bronze, and gold. But we're going to explain that, not every agency in silver or gold or bronze is worse than one in gold. How do I sign up as a freelancer or an agency? This is something you can do from an account page. If you have some issues finding that option, please reach out to our team at support@bubble.io, and we'll help you find the right button here. Can solo freelancers attain top agency tiers? Yes, it is very possible so far. We've seen, because we've already gone through the work for existing agencies, obviously, as we're looking at tiers and looking at the distribution. And we've seen some very small organizations, so 1 or 2 people, hitting pretty high numbers in terms of business volume. Great. Well, thank you very much, everyone. So now I'm going to have Alan say a few words about what's next for us. We're a product company, and ultimately that's the most important thing that people can interact with is the Bubble product. And so excited to hear what Alan has to say about our roadmap for the next few months.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Hey, everyone. I am super excited to be here with you all to talk about some of the big things that we're working on in the next couple of months. For those of you I haven't met, my name is Alan, and I've been with Bubble for the last almost 4 years now. And in that time, it is pretty amazing how much we've changed as a company. I remember when I first joined, we were just 20 people in a small office in New York. But one thing that's remained consistent over time is how close we are with all of you, our users. Everybody on the team is constantly inspired by all the stories that we hear from all of you, and it gives us the fire to continue improving ourselves and our product. Building for all of you, Bubble developers, means that we're taking on big problems and pushing the boundaries, and not just of no code, but of the tools and technology to create software. We basically do our work to enable you as Bubble developers to build more on Bubble. So today, I want to talk about 3 main areas that we're working on that you might be interested to hear about. The first one is enterprise readiness, how we're helping mature businesses grow and scale on Bubble. The second is the developer experience, especially around enabling developers to create and maintain complex applications. And the third is AI, what we've learned so far in our exploration of this space. So first up, we know that as Bubble developers, you're not only pitching your own skills to prospective clients, but you're also pitching Bubble. You've told us that it can be challenging to land projects with larger, more mature companies because of the security standards and feature requirements that these customers commonly have. That's why our team is investing in Bubble for Enterprise. These are about some topics that larger companies often bring up, but we also know that the improvements to security, compliance, and performance will benefit everyone, whether it's founders who are scaling their apps or enterprise teams looking to use Bubble to expand their business. To start with security, we're excited to start beta testing single sign-on next month. Our existing enterprise customers express the need for centralized governance and administrative controls. So with Bubble SSO, we're introducing different permission levels with an organization admin who has the ability to add and remove users. SSO will help larger teams get a bird's eye view of all their users and apps. We believe this is a big step towards unlocking an upmarket audience for Bubble developers looking to expand your client base or to sign larger deals. With compliance, our team is well on our way to obtaining a SOC 2 report. In the same way that SSO will help us better serve enterprise clients, SOC 2 will also open the door for larger customers. And finally, performance is an area that we are always investing in, but we are particularly excited about improvements to page load performance and bulk data manipulation coming up. With page load performance, we're identifying the highest impact areas we can target to improve speed. And overall, we're targeting step function improvements, particularly for landing page load times. Additionally, one of Bubble's greatest strengths is our built-in database. As an app scales, it becomes increasingly important and common to be able to create, search, update, and delete millions of entries in a database quickly. And historically, honestly, this hasn't been the easiest to do on Bubble. In fact, Bubble developers never cease to impress us with the different creative workarounds you find to that. After speaking with many of you, we are excited to share that our team is focusing on improving how you can work with a much larger amount of data. We'll be working on the performance and scalability of editing or looping through many records in your database. And we'll also be working on the performance and scalability of creating or deleting many records at once. So keep an eye out in Q3 for some of these improvements starting to come out. Bubble will always be an extensible platform with our API connector and plugins, but our goal here is for Bubble's database to be the best on the market. Next, one of the primary pain points we've heard from developers is that as applications grow and mature, managing that complexity becomes increasingly challenging on Bubble. In Q1, we made managing team complexity easier with the release of a revamped version control feature. But there are other ways your apps can become complex as it grows. And so here are a couple of ideas we are making progress on. First, reusable elements, or what we're beginning to call reusable components. When creating a reusable element, you will soon be able to specify properties on it, which can be used as dynamic data sources for any elements within the reusable, including appearance settings. So here in this video, you see that the user is working on a reusable element and has specified 1 and now 4 different properties on that reusable. So these properties are available to any element inside of the reusable. Now, when the user puts this reusable on a page, as you see here, they can specify the values of these properties for this particular instance of that reusable. And this is helpful because it makes reusables a bit more flexible so that you can continue building your designs more and more modularly. We are also working on logic updates. We're working to improve the modularity of logical expressions with concepts like allowing custom events to return data. In this video, you might spot a new checkbox that lets you say that a custom event should return data, which then you can specify. That data will then be available in the parent workflow after the custom event runs. So along the same lines of modularity in logic, we're also working on the idea of a temporary local variable and the much requested idea of loops. By making design components and logic more modular, you save time because you won't have to keep reinventing the wheel or repeating yourself within your app. And so this should make it easier to maintain and continue to grow larger apps. And finally, we wanted to give an update on our AI efforts. I'll say upfront that if you're expecting us to launch the new Bubble AI Builder today, you will have to wait a little bit longer because ChatGPT still hasn't completed its Bubble certification yet. But all jokes aside, we did want to share an update on what we've been doing on this front. To start broad, we believe that AI and no code are force multipliers for each other. Whatever effort you put in, these technologies multiply, helping more founders and developers achieve 10x results. Also, AI and no code are both becoming more widespread. This means that more people can turn their ideas into reality faster and at less cost than ever before, which allows for rapid iteration and testing. That's why we think AI dovetails really well with our mission and why we are investing in it. We've witnessed the tremendous impact of AI firsthand. Many of you attended our recent AI webinar about the power of AI and Bubble. And since then, hundreds of developers and founders have embraced Bubble as the application layer atop a tech stack that's turbocharged by generative AI. Last week, we published the story of NewShift on our showcase page, a perfect example of using no code as a front end for AI, and then leveraging the Azure AI service extensively. We're excited to be working with the Microsoft team to launch an Azure AI plugin that will make it even easier for Bubble developers to harness the intersection of these technologies. Back in March, Josh announced our early AI work. We aim to answer critical questions such as, can language models be trained to output Bubble's own language? Can AI be integrated into the Bubble experience? And are there tools we can leverage to achieve this vision? And today, I'm excited to share that our research shows the answers to all these questions is yes. We're already seeing promising results for creating conversational interfaces for building no-code apps, specifically Bubble apps. This means we're making progress towards you saying what kind of app or page you want, like build me a CRM for dog walking, and Bubble using AI to create a Bubble app based on what you said. And we want to push AI even beyond that. Imagine AI-generated visual designs and layouts for your pages and even specific components, saving hours of valuable developer time. Picture a scenario where you can effortlessly add data or expressions or workflows to a page, reducing your initial build time to a mere 10 minutes or even less. But that will only be the beginning, because we're also investigating paths forward where the editor is more deeply powered by AI and where your app's data can be better searched and processed by AI. So imagine using natural language search in your apps, for example. We are making headway on our research and exploration here, and we're excited to be able to announce more AI progress soon. So to recap, I just gave a brief overview of our efforts in enterprise readiness, developer experience, and AI. But we're working on a lot more cool improvements beyond those as well. So please stay tuned on these topics and for what else is coming. And so now we have Emmanuel and Josh back in for some Q&A. The first question is, which SSO providers? We will have much more details about this soon. Don't worry, there will be plenty of documentation about this. I was asked
the general answer is most of them. Like, you know, we like, if it's a common popular thing, the answer will probably be yes, it can connect.
Yep. I was also asked to just briefly mention that, yes, this will be recorded. And yes, we are in fact coming to you live. Next question, what about table elements? That is coming out quite soon. Stay tuned. Next question, is it possible to return data from a custom workflow running on the backend? Yeah, so we are first working on that feature I mentioned for custom events. So wherever there are custom events, that feature should work. I think that's what this question is referring to, custom events running on the backend, I believe. But please do feel free to clarify if that wasn't quite what you were asking. We'll be interested to know the timeline for performance improvement. Yeah, so we are definitely working on a few different projects relating to performance. It's a bit of a marathon full of different launches along the way. So you should be starting to see these in Q3, but there are going to be quite a number of them going out into the next couple of quarters. Josh, did you want to comment on that?
No, I think that's the way I'd characterize it. I'm very excited about all the performance work that's being done. We have a number of projects in flight that I think have a huge impact. So it's just gonna, roll out project by project.
Next question. Is there any plan to build native apps on bubble.io? Yes, I'm assuming this means native mobile apps. Great question. So we definitely hear y'all loud and clear that native mobile is a highly desirable feature for Bubble, and we totally understand why. So we are going to, we have plans to start investigating it later this year. We've actually done a fair amount of research about the landscape already, talking to many folks who might be in the audience today, in fact. There are a few different approaches we could take to it, technically speaking. So we're kind of looking into the pros and cons of those different paths. But yes, we are starting to look into it this year. No concrete timeline for when it'll launch yet, but yeah, work is starting on it very soon. Is the new agency profile live now? Josh or Manuel, do one of you want to take this one?
Yeah, we are launching this immediately. We can please go in and start creating.
Is Bubble shifting its focus towards freelancers/agencies rather than in-house teams working on a product?
I can take that one, I guess. Sure. I wouldn't say we're shifting our focus because it's something that has been happening a lot organically. And we are serving both type of users. Like founders remain, the people we're building this for. The non-technical founder was a person we had in mind when Josh and I started 11 years ago. Over time, we see that there are a ton of people actually realizing that they have a skill set that is actually pretty valuable when they build for other people. The thing that has happened over the years, though, is that most of this happened completely organically. We didn't do a ton, honestly, except creating this agency subscription a few years ago. And so now we're rebalancing this a little bit. But founders remain, the people that we're building this for in the first place.
The other thing I would add to that is we think it's extremely complementary, right? Like a founder who starts a company on Bubble creates a demand for more Bubble developers because often a successful founder immediately starts hiring. So having a market of Bubble developers, agencies, and freelancers is super great to power the founder's success, and the founder creates opportunities for them. So we don't really see it as an either or. We see it as investing in making it great for agencies and freelancers helps our founders. Investing in making it great for founders helps our freelancers and agencies.
Are there any UX improvements in the interface being planned? Yes, absolutely. Some of you may have noticed that the Bubble editor has looked largely the same for a decent number of years. We are working on refreshing kind of the look and feel, including the UX of the editor. In fact, there is one part of the editor that kind of got a little bit of the planned facelift already. I'll leave it to the chat for people to point out or to guess which part of the editor that was. But that was kind of our first small step in this line of work to refresh the editor. Any other questions from our moderators?
Well, I see one in the chat, I guess. Any plans on Bubble developers hangouts in the US? Yes, we have a community team that the Bubble House was in Spain, and that's something that was done by Sarah. Like it was like a community generated idea, but we will look into ways to get the community together everywhere, including the US. We have a lot of users here.
I'll take
What
that one.
plans?
But yeah, what plans does Bill have for template and plugin creators? So we actually already did an overhaul of the template page, kind of similar to what we just announced for agency profiles to make it easier to sort of present your templates. For plugin creators, we're doing some work currently on the API. We just announced a new version, but to be honest, we know that there's a ton of work that we can do to make it easier for plugin creators to build plugins more easily. And we're doing some investigative work right now to basically map out the landscape of all the possible changes and improvements we can make. I think we should probably wrap up Q&A and move on to the community awards. I do want to say, by the way, there's been a few questions about whether this is being recorded. The answer is yes. So there will be a recording of this whole thing available afterwards. And on that note, the moment you're waiting for, I'm going to hand it over to Emmanuel to explain the Community Developer Awards.
Thank you, Josh. So yes, this is the first time we're doing these community awards that are all based on community nomination from the community, based on the quantity of votes and the quality of the feedback we got from people. So thank you very much for everyone who submitted people. I would say this is something that kind of has been happening for some time. The forum in particular has been informally nominating people for their great contribution. But this is the first time that we actually took a quantitative look at it as Bubble. And that's something that was really fun for the team to do. Before we get into who won, I want to say a few words about the prize, because this is actually an opportunity for us to announce something that we also wanted to do for quite some time, and 2023 is the year this happens. We'll be hosting our first Bubble user conference in October of this year, late October 2023. So BubbleCon 2023. And so the winners of these three prizes that we're announcing tonight will be, or today, will be flown out to New York just to attend the conference on Bubble's cost. So congratulations to all the nominated people, but we only were able to invite 3 people and 3 winners to the conference. So now, for the moment you've all been waiting for, we had over 1,100 actually nominations for these awards. So these were a lot of people, and again, it was a pretty inspiring moment for the team to see how much people connect with each other when they build things on Bubble. These are, you have a list here of people who are getting honorable mentions because of the number of positive feedback we got about them and the nominations and the number of votes, but that didn't make it to the top 3. So congratulations to everyone. I'll stop talking for a few seconds so that people can read their names, because they really deserve a round of applause before we get into the 3 winners.
All right. And I'm going to present the first category, Bubble Mentor. So the Bubble Mentor Award honors the most outstanding and benevolent Bubble educator. Whether they're dishing out wisdom on forums, creating killer YouTube tutorials, or simply being an unwavering helping hand, this member of the community is always putting education first. And the winner is, drumroll please, Renato. Renato had almost single-handedly created the largest Bubble community in Brazil. He's launched the careers of thousands of students on no code. His teaching skills, clear explanations, and practical examples have made him a beloved figure in the no code industry. Thank you so much, Renato, for your incredible contributions. Now, turn it back over to Emmanuel for the next category.
So the Bubble Trailblazer. So this one is a very special one for me because this is for the people, the team, or the person that has pushed the limits of Bubble in ways that we did not even expect were possible. One of the coolest things, I think, when I think of the last 10 years working on Bubble, that I experience on a regular basis is when I get an application, someone sends me an application, or I have my eyes on an application, and it takes me a few seconds, sometimes even a minute, to confirm that this has been built on Bubble. And these are because some people sometimes are combining things in the Bubble editor in ways that are enabling them to create new experiences. And so I want to give a shout out to people who do that. It certainly does sometimes lead us to find some situations we hadn't planned, but it is a way for us to keep pushing the limits of what we can build with a product and keep improving it. Now, after all these nominations, the winner that we have is actually a team. It's Victor and Wesley that got by far the highest number of votes from everyone. So congratulations, Victor and Wesley. What they're building is interesting, and it's interesting at 2 levels. first of all, the app that they've built on Bubble is actually, is pushing the limits of what you can build with Bubble pretty far. And they've been a pretty nice experience. And they're also building something that actually is aiming at helping Bubble users improve the security of their applications. As you know, people are growing on the platform, and as Bubble as a whole is growing, security is becoming an important topic. And there are a few things that you need to learn and know when you're building an application to keep it secure. A lot of it, by the way, being actually part of the certification that we just announced. But there are a few tools that can help, do some checks for your application. And Floss that Victor and Wesley have built helps you with that. So congratulations, both.
And then I'll jump in for the final award category. For this one, we want to honor an extraordinary individual who embraces the community spirit, the Bubble Champion. This person celebrates victories and advocates for the needs of their fellow Bubble enthusiasts. The Bubble Champion exemplifies our global community's values and leads the way with infectious enthusiasm. And the winner of the Bubble Champion category is Thibault. Thibault has created and led the largest French Bubble community, fostering collaboration and knowledge sharing. He's created free online courses, engaging videos, and he's been active as a mentor. He's helped advocate for the community, and we're honored to recognize him as our community champion. Thank you so much for all the contributions of all the winners, everyone who was nominated, and everyone else in the community who have also made massive contributions, because this is not a 1 or 2 person show. This is, a movement, and there's a ton of you out there, mentoring your fellows, creating content, and otherwise helping push no code forward. So thank you so much. I'd like to hand it back over to Emmanuel to wrap up the summit.
Yeah, thank you again to everyone for the nominations, and congratulations to the 3 winners. Very excited to meet you in person. I think there are a couple of people that I haven't met yet in person, and that will be a great opportunity to do that in October. And more generally, I hope we see a lot of you in October at the Bubble conference, whether it's in person or online. Like, we are aware that the community of Bubble users is extremely global, and not everyone will be able to make it to New York. And so we'll make sure to have to make it as good as of an experience as possible for people who are watching us from remote, from different locations, so that they can be part of the conference. And finally, as we're wrapping this up, this was the first time we organized an event for Bubble developers. So the first one of many. Thank you very much for coming. It's going to sound cheesy, though. I would say, in my mind, this is really just the beginning. Like, again, for a long time, a lot of this happened organically, but now, we're actually going to be doubling down to ensure that, people in the Bubble ecosystem can, thrive as professional Bubble developers and as companies, if they're structured as companies, to grow on the platform. And so that, because ultimately your success is our success. So we'll get something big together. Thank you very much.